Welcome back, true believers, to another Spider-Man PS4 related video, and today I'm going to be discussing which 5 villains I would really want to see Insomniac put in Spider-Man PS4. So this isn't really in any particular order. These are all basically number 1 for me, kind of, but, I'm just putting these out in random order. If at least one of these villains gets in here, I would be more than happy to see him in here, and, they're probably going to do lesser-known villains like we've already seen, Mr. Negative, and I made another video called What Villains Could Be in Spider-Man PS4. These are villains that I would love to see in the game, and even if they do like unknown villains like Mr. Negative and, other villains maybe like Tombstone or something like that, that they're going to put one villain, at least one villain in there that is known worldwide between all Spider-Man fans, and Green Goblin is not on this list because I'm assuming he is already in the game. But referring to villains that we have no idea could be in the game or could not be in the game, these are my personal picks. So number 1, we have the Lizard. So the only game that we have seen the Lizard in, or games actually, have been in the Amazing Spider-Man 1 movie tie-in game, Spider-Man 3 the movie tie-in game, and then Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. So those 2 movie tie-in games. The Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man 1, I did not like his design because he didn't look like the Lizard. He looked like the human Lizard. Spider-Man 3 did a really good job of making the Lizard look like the Lizard, but then he got like Mega Lizard, which was intense. It was fun, and it was a really epic boss fight too. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the Lizard that I would prefer. I guess I would prefer like the really monster-like Lizard, compared to like the really intense mega monster Lizard, like just, I don't know, like something more terrifying in this form. And then in Spider-Man 2, Enter Electro is what I believe to be my favorite version of the Lizard, because he was in Dr. Connor's office, and it felt like an early Resident Evil game, like really scary and survival horror type, because you were trying to run away from the Lizard continuously. You didn't want to die from him at all because of how terrifying he was, and especially if you got caught by him, you would have to do the level all over again. And no one would want to do that because of how hard that level was. But if Insomniac could capture his terrifying scariness, it would be amazing to see in a fully fledged Next Generation Spider-Man game. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the Sandman. So again, we've only seen Sandman in Spider-Man 3, which he had okay boss fights. Shattered Dimensions, he had a really good boss fight in that one, in the Amazing level, where he went from normal Sandman to Giant Sandman to Tornado Sandman, which was very cool, because they were in like some sand valley desert mining yard type place where there was sand everywhere, and Sandman could use all the places of that area to power himself up, like even the walls that were made out of sand, which was crazy. And then Spider-Man 1 on the PS1 had Sandman, which was, no, Spider-Man 2 actually, where we had to catch that train, he was chasing us. That one was scary, because I did not want to get caught by Sandman at all with those sand walls. That was very scary and hard as well. It was very hard. So if Insomniac could provide a challenge with showcasing a next-gen Sandman, maybe chase him through like New York City or something, or I don't know if Sandman would be in the sewers, but maybe in the sewers, I don't know, robbing a bank maybe. It would be very cool to see this type of Sandman be fledged out. And same thing with Lizard. If we see Lizard in like the sewers or like Doc Connor's office turning into the Lizard, it would be very cool. And if they did the transformation of the Lizard in that game, it would be very scary to see how that is played out. So that's number 2. Number 3, of course, Doc Ock. So, of course, Doc Ock is infamous for being one of Spider-Man's greatest villains, and also infamous for having one of the most hardest boss fights in a superhero game of all time in Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, because that final boss fight with him was like a Dark Souls boss. It was insane to not die from him. You died every second, at least I did, when I was fighting him as a kid, as like a 4-year-old kid. It was insane to, 6-year-old kid to actually fight this guy. He was incredibly difficult, and if it captured that same essence of difficulty and, afraidness, being petrified by being chased by this guy in that abandoned warehouse, and also fighting him on top of that train. If Insomniac could do that in the next-gen Spider-Man game, it would be incredible. We saw him make an appearance in Edge of Time, and then we kind of fought him when he was Atrocity, but that doesn't really count. Like a full-fledged Doc Ock, we haven't had in a long time. He's only been in Spider-Man 2. And if we saw him again, it would be fantastic. Let's see. Next villain, Mysterio. Now, once again, he has been in a lot of Spider-Man games, I think. He's been Spider-Man PS1, Shattered Dimensions, Spider-Man 2, of course, on the PS2. That was one of my favorite versions of him in that movie tie-in game. And if there's another one I'm missing, please tell me. But yeah, he was a very fun and interesting boss fight because of all the illusions he could put on screen, messing with Spider-Man's mind and making him kind of like, you know, Mysterio is basically Spider-Man's version of Scarecrow in the sense, like, he doesn't make you see your worst fears, but it all depends on what the illusions make Spider-Man think. So it could range from, like, him being on, like, free-falling from the sky and, like, plummeting to his death, or, like, he's about to enter into a volcano pit, or if he's really petrified, he would see, like, Aunt May get shot, or, like, Uncle Ben dying all over again, or, like, Gwen Stacy getting dropped off the bridge and having her neck snapped by the Goblin. So, you know, if Mysterio is working with Norman Osborn, maybe like they're teaming up or something, or maybe he's out for revenge, and then Mysterio would be here also out for revenge, and then he would like mess with Spider-Man's brain. That could be the equivalent to the Scarecrow missions in the Arkham games, where we see like Batman's greatest fears in Arkham Asylum, which was one of the best parts of that game, and then we fought Giant Scarecrow, I think it was like 3 times, or 2 times, or 3 times, and each time it was increasingly difficult and scary to see what Scarecrow would be doing in that game. So if they did that with Mysterio in this game, I would love to see it. A giant Mysterio, kind of like how they did it in Shattered Dimensions, but also if they did it like where it showed like some of Spider-Man's fears, and we could get a background of the story for Peter Parker in this game, and I would love to see it. And of course, my final pick, which is my most wanted pick, is Venom. I know we've had him in a lot of games. I know people say he's overused, but he is my favorite Spider-Man villain of all time. He has been away for 8 years, like I said in my last video. The last time we saw him was in Web of Shadows, and, you know, we're still kind of recovering from his appearance in Spider-Man 3, but to me, the ultimate Spider-Man villain of Venom in that game and the comics, as well as the Web of Shadows Venom, are my favorite Venoms. He's terrifying whenever he says "we." The symbiote voice overlays with the Eddie voice, and it just creates like nightmare fuel for me. He's always been my favorite Spider-Man villain. He's been in Spider-Man PS1, Spider-Man 3, Ultimate Spider-Man, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, you know, hinted at in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and kind of was in Edge of Time as anti-Venom, but again, I love full-on 100% normal Venom like this one right here. Not Flash Thompson, not Matt Gargan, Eddie Brock as Venom. He is my Venom, and he always will be, and if we see this again in Next Generation Spider-Man game, I'm going to lose my mind, because if we get the Venom that we all deserve, like the humongous, ginormous, we-saying evil Venom from like Web of Shadows and Ultimate Spider-Man, and on a next-gen game, that would be a dream come true. So thank you all so much for watching, True Believers. Tune in next time for more Spider-Man PS4 related videos. Peace out.